Hey again, everyone, and Happy New Year. Today is January 1st, 2017, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do our semi-traditional Southern New Year's Day meal. The reason I say semi is because I don't know that I have everything exactly traditional, but it's the way we like it. And I'm trying to get all of the components in to make it a traditional Southern. The book I have in front of you here is probably my favorite Christmas present that I've ever received in my life. Several of us in the family, I think she tried to do this for each child and grandchild's family. This is from my mom, handwritten by her. I don't know how many books she did, but apparently she's been working on this for the past year. When I said that I wanted to do a cookbook of all of her recipes last year, and I just didn't get to do it. She did it by herself, and I was just so pleased. We were all so happy. She made us all open them at the same time on Christmas Day, so we would not be spoiling each other's gift. But she bought these books, and you can see mine says by Mom, and it's called With Love from My Kitchen, and that's her name, Pat Jones. And she has gone through here and taken some of our family favorite recipes and written them in her handwriting for all of us to have forever. And it's a gift that made me cry, made all of us cry. We were all really excited because what she tried to do was every one of us has favorite dishes that we had since childhood, and she tried to include some of those in each category. For example, this was my favorite appetizer dip when I was a kid. It's this cream cheese dip, and it's absolutely delicious. In fact, I made it last night for our New Year's Eve, and it just brings back such warm memories. We only had it once a year on my birthday, which is 2 days before Christmas. So every time I think about it, I get in a happy holiday spirit. So I'm hoping to eventually go through the whole book and do all of the recipes and show you how she did this. And also, I have, over the years, called her and asked her how she made certain things. So I have a whole little folder with recipes that she has given me in the past that I can add to this. So I'm just really very, very thankful. And so today I'm going to do the dried beans and peas recipe. I'm doing black-eyed peas. And the thing that you have to know about my mom and how she learned to cook is she lived with her grandparents for a while when she was a child. I think it was during World War II that she lived with them when my grandmother, her mother, was in Detroit helping build airplanes for the war effort. So she learned to cook from her grandmother. And it was, I don't know, mid-60s before her grandparents had electricity in their little house. So she learned to cook on a wood burning stove. The reason that I'm saying this now in regards to this dried beans or peas recipe is my mom has never soaked beans or peas. I know I've tried to cook them where I've soaked them and they just don't taste the way that I remember them. And then I talked to my mom several years ago, and she said, I don't soak my beans. What are you talking about? And the reason for that is the wood-burning stove. There was always a fire going, no matter what time of year, because my great-grandmother was always cooking something. And I mean, they had like 8 children and all of their grandchildren and cousins and everything. So she was always cooking something, and she cooked on a wood-burning stove, so the fire was always going. But what they didn't have a lot of was water. The water that they had to go get from the creek. So it was much easier to put something on the stove and just let it cook than it was to waste water. You just did not waste water. And to soak the beans overnight and pour that water out, oh, that would have been sacrilege to my great-grandmother, apparently. I never met her. I was always sorry that I never got a chance to meet her, but I didn't. But my mom would tell me, oh no, you just didn't waste water like that. So that's why my mom has never soaked any beans. So getting back to the recipe, this is what it says. It says, go through beans or peas, pick out trash and bad beans or peas. Put in saucepan, cover with water, add salt and oil, 2 to 4 tablespoons depending on amount. Cook until tender and soup is thick. So you still kind of have to know a little bit about cooking to be able to do this, but that's the basic gist of the recipe. So what I've done here is I have some black-eyed peas and some, sorry, that's my dryer, and since it's New Year's Day, some kids outside are shooting fireworks. I have some black-eyed peas and some other kind of field peas. I didn't have a whole lot of black-eyed peas, so I just substituted some of the field peas. These are some that my dad grew. And I'm really the only one in the house who really likes black-eyed peas, so I didn't have to make a big, huge pot. This is about a cup of peas, and I've sorted through them and rinsed them. Now I'm going to cover them with water. I'm going to put maybe half a teaspoon of salt maybe, and I'll taste them later and see if they need more salt. And 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. That's the oil that my mom would use. And boil them. Bring them to the boil and then turn them down and let them cook. And I'll bring you along and show you how we're doing with them. Okay, now that I have my peas on cooking, I'm going to go to the next dish that I'm going to make today from Mom's cookbook, sort of. And then the rest of it I'm just going to make things that I make all the time that doesn't really have a recipe. So I'll just show you the end product of that. But I wanted to talk with you about the turnip greens that she has here in the book. Greens are traditional on New Year's Day. But if you're in my family and you're talking about greens, you're talking turnip greens. Unfortunately, neither Ron nor I have ever acquired the taste of turnip greens. We really don't like them. We can eat them, but we just don't like them. We do, however, like other kinds of greens, like collard greens and kale and Swiss chard and things like that. In fact, I even have a video on my channel of taking some broccoli and either broccoli or Brussels sprouts, I can't remember, leaves from the plant and treating them like collard greens. You can actually cook those and they're very, very good. But so anyway, for our New Year's Day dinner, we're just going to have collard greens. And I'm going to show you how I make those because it's not like my mom does turnip greens. But I wanted to talk to you about that. I wanted to share her recipe. So for turnip greens, it says 5 to 6 pounds and I'm going to have to translate Mama E's. It says, wash good and clean water till you can see it. I think what she meant to say was, wash it until the water that you're using to rinse it is clear. Until you can see through it. Because all of the turnip greens that she ever cooks come straight from Dad's garden. So they're really, really dirty. And I don't know if you've ever cooked turnip greens or not, but they are filthy. You have to wash them a lot, 5 or 6 times. And then you cook it with a ham hock or country meat. Sometimes that's referred to as boiling meat, or what I'm using today is just a few slices of country ham. Anything like that, anything with a country smoke flavor would be perfect. A 1/4 cup of oil, salt to taste, and then my moo, who was my grandmother, her mother, said to cook until they are slick. And that just means that they cook them till they're falling down and really droopy, and it takes a little while, but she just always, and I remember her saying it, you cook them till they're slick. And one funny thing about Mamu, when she was teaching me how to cook turnip greens, I was taking notes, and she had me washing them all and everything, and I was writing down everything I did, and she told me to put some oil in there, and I said, well, quick question, if I wanted to put like Crisco or butter or something like that, could I do that instead of oil? And she said, well, not if you want anybody to eat them. And that's just always been hilarious to me. That was my grandmother, just matter of fact. That's just the funniest thing. So anyway, that's how my mom does turnip greens. And now I'm going to show you how I do collard greens. Okay, let me show you what I've got going into my collard greens. This is where I do it a little differently. I like to kind of crisp up my country ham, and I like a little onion in ours too. So I've got, this was 3 small slices of country ham. It's probably about 1/2 cup maybe, and then about the same amount of chopped red onion. And I've got my pot here, and I'm just going to put those in the pot with a little bit of oil, just a little bit, because this has some fat on it that's going to cook out. But I do want to get it started with a little bit of oil. And then cook these until this is just translucent, and this is just a little crispy. And then I will put my greens in. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll put a little salt, just a little salt, because this country ham is really salty, and some crushed red pepper. And then I have a 2-pound bag of shredded collard greens that I just picked up at Walmart. We didn't grow any collard greens this year. In fact, the only thing that we have in our garden right now is Swiss chard. And I thought that I would be able to save it, but it looked like the cold got to it and some of it is dying. I'll probably be able to save some of it if it'll warm up a little bit, where I can get out there and excuse me, and dry off a little bit, because it's pouring down rain. If I can get out there and cut away some of the dead stuff and then cover up the stuff that's going, I can probably keep it going for a little while. But anyway, yes, this whole 2-pound bag will fit into this little pot because it's going to wilt down. But I'm going to go ahead and get this started, and I may add just a tiny bit of water as it's cooking, and I will bring you back when they're just about done. Okay, this is my finished New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, excuse me, semi-traditional Southern dinner. We've got collard greens. Green symbolizes money. We've got cornbread. The yellow in the cornbread symbolizes gold. The combination field peas and black-eyed peas, I've done some research and I found out that the reason you eat those on New Year's Day is because it dates back to the Civil War, and many of the Union soldiers thought that these were only good for the animals, so they just left them behind. And then when the Southern people came out to see what was left of their land, they had black-eyed peas. And they considered themselves very lucky, so that's why you eat them on New Year's Day. And then I just cooked a pork chop, pan-fried it with a little Cajun seasoning. And the reason that you eat pork is it is considered a very lucky animal. And we're eating pork, I think this is a pork loin chop. I'm not sure. I don't know. But you eat that because it's the most tender part, and it's at the top of the pig's back, and that's what's considered living high on the hog. So this is our traditional, semi-traditional New Year's Day meal, and we're going to enjoy it. Thanks very much for watching. Fly high, Pooh Bear. I'm amending my video because I just reminded my Yankee husband when I was telling him why you eat each one of these things, that the peas date back to the Civil War. I mean the War of Northern Aggression. He loves it when I say that, don't you, honey?
Just a carpetbagger.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for watching. Fly high, Pooh Bear.